Coffee. Oh, good. What's going on, everybody? Good morning, good afternoon, good night. Whenever you're listening to this, wherever you're listening to this, thank you. Appreciate it. You didn't think I'd be gone forever, did you? I didn't think I'd be back this early. But here we are. It's good to be back. Some of you may know, some of you may not know. My podcast that I started, Beware of Bulldogs, where we focused on Fresno State athletics, I turned over to someone else. Got out. I'm not doing that. I was spending some time focusing on my career. What was that going to look like? Had a baby. So that's my second kid. What is that going to look like? And it's completely different from one kid to two. And it is total joy. It's the best thing ever. We'll talk about kids in this episode. I got stuff to talk about when it comes to kids. I'll get to that. But there was a change. I'm calling this episode New Beginnings. It was beginning to something new with another kid with a new job, starting a new career in a different industry. And I'm getting away from Beware of Bulldogs. It was really hard. But it opened things up and it gave me time to think about what I wanted to do next. So Naled It had always been on the back burner. I'd been going in and out of it. I'm very passionate about sports, Jesus, and my local community. Not in that order. Those are a couple things that I'm passionate about. And Naled It was where I could talk about those things. So that's what we're going to do here. Naled It is going to be a show primarily talking about sports. Okay, so we're going to be talking about local sports. We're going to be talking about the big time headlines, things that we enjoy watching. It could be, I don't know, underwater basket weaving, if we all get into that. Whatever that is, we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about Jesus. I'm going to share at the beginning of every episode. I'm going to share what kind of my, I don't know, it's a devotion what I'm reading, what I'm getting, what I'm going through, what I'm getting from the Bible and from the Holy Spirit. I'm going to share with you guys. Today is a good one. And then just local news, things that I think are important and that we should talk about. We will talk about that as well. Then I will be doing guests. I already have one in the works. They will most likely not be video. They will be on YouTube if you're enjoying this on YouTube. Thanks for listening on YouTube. If you're on Spotify, nothing changes for you. Oh, maybe because I do put the video up. But there will not be video for those. I do not have cameras or anything like that. I'm just going to sit down and talk. Probably at the winery with people because I tell you what, man, getting together with people over a glass of wine, even if you don't drink, that's fine. That's fine. We can still talk. but doing it at the winery is special. It's a special place. Givoli Winery is a special place. So I don't have cameras there. So we just grab the mic, some wine, some pizza, and have a good time. So those conversations, by the way, will not just be sports conversations. They will actually primarily be people in the community outside of sports. So farmers, lawyers, insurance agents. That's what I'm doing now. I know, throwing. But people do want to know, and to be honest, getting into the insurance world, the insurance people in insurance need to educate because the commercials on TV don't do the insurance world justice. They only hurt. Well, that's a conversation for another day. Let's get into the passage for today. Like I said, every episode will start with passage from scripture. And this one is fun. Depends on how you look at it. It's actually Job chapter 2. We're starting in verse 7. So if you have your Bible, open it there. If not, and if you don't read your Bible, I encourage you to. If you need a Bible, let me know. I'm happy to get you one. I have tons at my house. I'll lend you one of mine. If I don't start my day with the Bible and in prayer, the day is not the same. So I encourage you to do that. Okay, Job chapter 2, verse 7. So Satan went out from the presence of the Lord and afflicted Job with painful sores from the soles of his feet to the crown of his head. In Job chapter 1, Satan took all the physical things from Job, his family, his farm, everything. Now, and Job still was praising the Lord. Now, Satan says, look, Lord, I took all that stuff from him, but of course he's going to praise you because I didn't do anything to his body. So we're going to inflict him with painful sores, or I am. Then Job took a piece of broken pottery and scraped himself with it as he sat among the ashes. Ouch. His wife said to him, are you still maintaining your integrity? Curse God and die. What an encouraging wife. He replied, you are talking like a foolish woman. Shall we accept good from God and not trouble? In all this, Job did not sin in what he said. I find that amazing. Things get a little tough, and some people turn from God. This man had everything taken from him. He has sores all over his body, and yet he still says, shall we accept good from God and not trouble? He does not sin in what he said. But here's when it gets interesting. And here's what stood out to me in this passage, starting at verse 11. When Job's three friends, Eliphaz the Temanite, Bildad the Shuhite, and Zophar the Naamathite, heard about all the troubles that had come upon him, they set out from their homes and met together by agreement to go and sympathize with him and comfort him. When they saw him from a distance, they could hardly recognize him. They began to weep aloud, and they tore their robes and sprinkled dust on their heads. Then they sat on the ground with him for 7 days and 7 nights. No one said a word to him because they saw how great his suffering was. Isn't that amazing? I read that and I thought to myself, am I that sort of friend? Because I want to be that friend. Not only do I want to be that friend, but I want to be the friend that knows, right? We have phones. We can call people right now. These people, it's word of mouth only. They heard about Job and what was going on, and they went to him. And before they even got there, they hurt. Their hearts were broken for Job. They tore their clothes. They were weeping before they even got to Job. Is it possible that we can be those friends? Is that still possible today? I 100% believe so. But am I that friend? Right? And I think to be that friend, one, I need to look in the mirror, and two, I need the Lord's help. Look, Job loses everything. He still gives the Lord his rightful praise. But his friends come to his aid because they heard of his suffering. And then here's the other thing. Here's the kicker. What was their aid? When they get they sat in silence with Job for 7 days. Sat in silence for 7 days. And I guarantee you these guys had jobs, had families, but because their friend was suffering, they just sat there in silence with him for 7 days. Are we willing to give up 7 days? That's it. In the grand scheme of things, it's just 7 days. Are we willing to give up 7 days for our friends that are going through hard times? Right? When a friend has a family member pass away, do we give up our day? Or are we giving up an hour of our time? Or are we just cooking dinner for them and then dropping it off at their doorstep? Or are we willing to sit there in silence and weep with our friends? Right? And I was thinking about this myself. If I was in Job's shoes, would I want that, or would I want to be alone? No. I could tell you, and I've been in this position before, when things are tough, I need my friends with me. Right? I don't just want my friends. I need my friends. I need them. They gave up 7 days for a friend in need. So first, I encourage us, and this I'm talking to myself, and you guys could take from this what you want. But do I know when my friends are suffering, or am I waiting for a cry for help? I read this. This was yesterday's passage, by the way. I read this yesterday. I'm continuing to read the book of Job because there's a conversation with his friends after this, and it's very interesting. I encourage you to continue reading the book of Job. But do we know when our friends are suffering? Do we call our friends regularly? That's a difficult word for me. And then when we talk to them, are we having conversations? Hey, man, how's work? How's the family life? And these are not shallow things. Like, no, man, how is work? How are you feeling at work? How are you feeling when you get home? What's going on? How can I pray for you? Being intentional about it. Do we give up our week for a friend, or just time when it's convenient for us? Right? So I'm praying. Well, here's what I'm doing. I'm praying about all these things. I'm starting to call my friends more, because the grind of work, the hustle culture has been idolized. I'll put it that way. Over the past couple years, really since social media has really started taking off, this grind and hustle culture has started taking off. Yeah, look, work is great, and to work it's actually biblical. But idolizing it and that hustle is not good. Okay, take time to call. Speaking to me, I need to take time to call my friends, call my family, and be intentional about those conversations. Am I involved in my community? These are questions that I'm writing down to myself. Am I involved in my community? And here's the kicker on this, is the Bible says, love your neighbor as yourself, right? And it's really talking about everyone that we come into contact with. We're going to love them as we love ourselves. Okay? Which is great. But the other thing that stood out to me over the past couple months, especially while I was on this break and in this new season, is, am I actually involved in my town? Am I involved on my street? Do I know my neighbors that live across the street and next to me? How am I viewed as a neighbor? Am I being a good neighbor to them? Right? Hey, you know what? 2-year-old, let's make some cookies and let's take it over to our neighbors. Am I helping them out? Am I watching their house? What's my communication like with them? And then in my town and in my community, in the local organizations, how can I be involved? And then am I ready to make sacrifices for them? That's what's been on my mind after reading Job 1 and 2. I'd love to talk more about it, but my encouragement to you guys is this: call your friends, call your family members, call your brothers and sisters. Are you involved in your community? And I say start with your street. Maybe you're off on the wrong foot with some neighbors. Own up to whatever it was, have extreme ownership, and then let's move on and rekindle that relationship. And so then we can bless the people around us. That's what's been on my mind when reading Job 1 and 2. And tell me your thoughts of what the Holy Spirit is, how the Holy Spirit is speaking to you after reading Job 1 and 2. All right, now let's get into some sports and some local news. Very excited about all of this. Big news around here in Fresno is the Pacific Athletic Conference has expanded once again. We are now at 8 teams. So Fresno State is, after this season, this is the last season in the Mountain West. After this season, we are joining the Pac. People say Pac12. It used to be Pac-10, used to be Pac-8. It's back to Pac-8 now. I'm saying Pac-8. It's the Pac-8. Texas State has joined the Pac and has made it the official, I think it's officially 8 members. There's 9 in basketball with Gonzaga. Texas State has been voted in by the Board of Regents. And my honest thoughts about this conference and moving into the Pac are this, and what it means for Fresno State. I'll get there. My honest thoughts are this. This means a lot to the people with money. And the reason I say that is because the Pac, the name itself and the conference has carried a lot of weight in sports for the past, or since about 2 years ago, really. In the grand scheme of things, in all sports, it carried weight. That name, the Pac-8, Pac-10, Pac-12, Pacific Athletic Conference carried weight until about 2 years ago when they broke up. And now they bring in all these other schools, and there's Oregon State and Washington State still there. But they bring in these other schools, and there's an expectation that the Pac still carries that weight. And if I'm being honest, it doesn't. That weight that it used to carry is not there anymore. And here's the reason, is because everything has to do with viewership numbers. Everything. Okay, so you kick out Los Angeles. We don't have Los Angeles anymore. USC and UCLA are part of the Big Ten. You don't have the Bay Area anymore with Stanford and Cal. That's gone. Oregon is gone. Washington is gone. Now you have Washington State and Oregon State, but those are small towns, right? You're not pulling a ton of people. Those markets are pretty small. Okay, so you bring in Fresno, right? And we have to be honest with ourselves. And I think what's so great about the current athletic administration at Fresno State is that they are honest with themselves. Okay, we have to be honest with ourselves. Fresno and Fresno County and the bigger area of the Central Valley, yes, there are a lot of people. But at the same time, very few people tune in to Fresno State football games, even less to Fresno State basketball and baseball. Now, the potential is huge. Over 1 million people just in the Central Valley alone. But if we're being honest with ourselves, how many of those people can we get to turn on the TV when they're playing a game? Not very many. Not as many as we would like, that's for sure. And it's so what does it mean for Fresno State joining the Pac-12? I think it's more of the same. Look, the TV deal that the Pac signed, they Paramount, CBS, and DirecTV, it's a partnership thing. Okay, we're going to be on more televisions, I guess. Look, I last year I was not able to watch CBS Sports Network. I don't know how, but I have Paramount Plus. I think it's through something we had. Like we got it for free with a membership to something else. So with Paramount Plus adding CBS Sports Network, I'm going to be able to watch the games now. Okay, so that's better. DirecTV, honestly, I don't know anyone that has DirecTV still. I know no one. Maybe hotels? That's my thought. Maybe there's hotels. So when the game's on late, if it's in Fresno and it's later, and in hotels, people like to stay up watching TV, maybe the game is turned on. But in all reality, this is, in my opinion, more of the same that we had in the Mountain West. Mountain West, we had the CBS deal. We were on CBS Sports Network. So to me, it doesn't excite me that much. And I hate to say that. Now, I'm curious to see what the Mountain West deal gets. Okay, and I think there's going to be, well, we'll get to it in a sec. Okay, but I'm curious to see what the Mountain West deal gets, because if they get significantly less money in their TV deal, then okay, then that's pretty good for the Pac. But even then, if you want to talk about a step up from the Mountain West to the Pac, I don't think so. I think it's more of the same. Okay. And we're not playing San Jose State. They're not in here. Hawaii's not here. And I think Hawaii is a sneaky market because of the time zone that they're in. Because college football fans, they love staying up for these Hawaii games, and it's becoming a bigger thing. Right? So I think having Hawaii, and if Timmy Chang, the coach there, can get them back to where they were years ago when I was little, Hawaii football could be a lot of fun to watch. I think they're sneaky. Other thing that happened yesterday, GCU is moving to the Mountain West immediately. And I know Boise State released a statement. I haven't seen one from Fresno State yet. But the schools that are leaving are a little frustrated with the Mountain West just allowing GCU to play right away, because now we got to schedule basketball games, baseball games. They don't have a football team. GCU would kill at football, though, in my opinion. Their students are crazy. They show up. Have you seen I think they're called the Havocs. Have you seen their basketball? It's insane. I remember when it opened up and they decided we're going to go all in on basketball. And I had friends that were there, and they're camping out to get in, and they just go crazy. It's insane. They would do that for football, no doubt. And GCU would probably make the money pretty quick to help with NIL. And they've had a decent basketball program the past couple of years. They've been building, and I think they've been in the WAC, and they've been competing. They've been to the big dance. Here's something for locals and if you're a Fresno State fan, this makes our Mountain West schedule extremely tough. And I can't believe I'm saying that it's actually going to be tougher than it was, because the Mountain West basketball schedule is already tough enough. Now add GCU into the mix this year. Woo, man, it's going to be tough. But it's going to be fun. Also, I'm hearing rumors about Fresno State basketball that there could be, these are rumors, there could be a game against Arkansas in the works. There could be a game against Kentucky in the works. Okay, our coaches have, they have people there, right? They coach, their coaching trees are there. So if we could get those games, if we could go to those places, because they'll never come to Fresno, but if we could go to those places, still get those games, hey, maybe we pull one out. That will help our resume. Maybe we play them close. That may even help our resume, right? It's a lose-lose for the other schools unless they blow us out. They were supposed to do that. So it's a lose-lose. For us, unless we get blown out, it's a win. And even then, I think it's good for our players to see that type of basketball early on in the season. Right, we played one team that I can remember recently. Now, Hudson was here. It was when Orlando Robinson was playing. We played against Santa Clara in Maui. And Santa Clara had a player, Williams. He plays for OKC now. Just won NBA Finals. Jalen Williams. Stud player. We ended up beating them in Maui. That's a big time win for Fresno State. Right? We need to have those games again. We are playing San Francisco at San Francisco. It's just going to be really hard to get teams to come to the Save Mart Center. And we got to get deals done to play in Selland again. I think we should play a game in a high school gym. I think it would be so much better. But because we're talking basketball, I want to show you this. Boom. Most watched basketball games in 2025. If you're on audio only, head over to YouTube, subscribe. Naled It. That's actually probably under my name, Caleb Nale, Nale. Most watched basketball games in 2025. The number one basketball game was Houston, Florida. Okay? College basketball. Then the number two game was Game 7 of the NBA Finals, OKC versus Indiana. You think it'd be number one? It's not. It's number two, and it had 2 million less viewers than the Houston, Florida college basketball game. Okay? Then 3 through 7 were all college basketball games. Duke, Houston, Auburn, Florida, Michigan State, Auburn, Illinois, Kentucky, Alabama, Duke. 8, 9, and 10 were games 4, 5, and 6 of the NBA Finals. None of them broke 10 million. Games 4, 5, and 6, none of them broke 10 million viewers. Alabama, Duke had 9.8 million. Then after that, Kentucky, Illinois, and up. So 1 through 6 all had over 10 million. But the reason I bring this up is 6 of the top 7 were college basketball games. Okay, college basketball, and you can see if you're on YouTube what I said. College basketball has always been more entertaining, always will be. So the market is there. That's my point. My point is the market is there. The basketball community in Fresno is very big. It's large. Cater to them. Okay, I don't know if you guys saw a couple years ago when Bronny James came to the Save Mart Center, his high school team played, and they played against San Joaquin Memorial, and San Joaquin Memorial gave them a run for their money, but Save Mart Center was packed. There were a ton of people there to watch Bronny James play. Yeah, a basketball player that, in my opinion, wouldn't have been the best player in the Valley when he was in high school. But because of his last name, he has that draw, and a lot of people showed up. There's a Jalen Green, and gosh dang it, I always forget in that same draft, another kid from the Central Valley went. Cedric Coward from Central just went. He played at Central. You have Paul George. You have guys like Demetrius Porter. I know Demetrius, so that's why I name drop him. But guys they were at Fresno State playing, and now they're helping out kids in the Central Valley and the surrounding area in the basketball world. There is a huge. My neighbor's dog just scared me for a second there. But there's a huge community in Central Valley basketball that are willing and ready to support Fresno State basketball. I think it's slowly changing. I think Vance Wahlberg is actually getting out there into the community. He's bringing the team to local communities like they used to do back in the day with Tark and before Tark. Look, I just turned 30, okay? I should know the name. Was Boyd Grant, the coach before? I know. All the older guys are going to get on me. Fresno State older guys going to get on me for that. But it was Grant's tomb, right? Pretty sure. But, they were out in the community. My point being is that, and what I hear from all you older guys is how involved these teams were in smaller surrounding towns. The small farm towns around Fresno, they were there. The players were there. We all knew them. That's what they all tell me. And so Vance, I think, is bringing that back. I think that's good for Fresno. You see Classy going on all these shows, all of them. I bet you he would come on mine if I asked him. I think that's good. It's a new beginning, right? Not only at Nailed It, but Fresno State sports, there's lots of things happening. And basketball is part of that. So I'm excited. All right, last thing with Fresno State. Then I want to get into rev share. Okay, so House versus NCAA. And you need to know about rev share. So give me 1 second. So Fresno State mascot was not added to the new college football video game. Okay, in the past, they've had all the mascots in these college football games. Last year, the last video game they made was in 2013, college football game, at least. And they had all the mascots, and you could have fun with them, and they were on the sideline. You could actually play with them. New game comes out 10 years later. Very few mascots are in it. The new version, this year's version, comes out. They update it with a lot more mascots. Fresno State's not a part of that. So it brought up this thought of traditions at Fresno State, because not only do they not have the mascot, okay, but they have lots of other traditions from other schools, right? That they show pregame. Like as you load into the game, they're getting the atmosphere, right? They're getting the college-ness of the game, right? Setting it up for you. So at Texas A&M, Virginia Tech, all these, Clemson running down the hill, they do that in the video game. Well, Fresno State, they have nothing, right? They don't have anything. They chant Fresno State, but they do that for, a ton of teams. Toledo, they do that as well as Texas State. They're doing the same thing, right? And those are all in the game. So is Fresno State, what's Fresno State's tradition? I asked on X, and a lot of people responded. And to be honest, there was only one, maybe two, right? You have the green V on the helmet, okay? And on the field. That's I guess that's a tradition. Maybe the commentators say something about the green V. Whoop-de-doo. Then you have the red mile, right, where the opposing team walks. It was discouraged for some time. Let's just say, one person ruins it for everyone else. But it's when the opposing team walks from the locker room down to the stadium, right? They got to walk that whole distance. It's fenced off. There's a bunch of security around there, and then we shout really nice things at the team. We encourage them at the opposing team, right? Just really nice things, and we encourage them. So that, in my opinion, is probably the only thing that we could call tradition at Fresno State for Fresno State football. I mean, don't get me started on basketball. There is none. Baseball, they're in a transition period, right? The older guys are passing away. The younger guys, now it's our turn to step up and continue those traditions, because there are traditions with Fresno State baseball. But football and basketball, they're trying new things to get the young crowd in. Look, we have to do something different than blast profane music. It's just the worst music ever on every down. Get the band involved. Get people singing songs. Get them doing that. Get chants. Get the spell out going. Florida State's got the chop. Something. We have to have something every game that is unique to Fresno State. And the fact that it's a small thing, but it stood out to me. The fact that Fresno State's mascot isn't in the game and that we don't have anything in that game, that speaks volumes to Fresno State fans. And people that play the game, they see that as well. And by the way, it was the number one selling sports game ever, I believe. The first one, 2025. Now 2026 is being released. But 2025, huge game, fun game. I play it a lot when the kids are asleep. But there's not a lot that stands out for Fresno State. So what are we going to do? Green V section? Hopefully. All right. Let's get to the important thing, and that's what is called revenue share. Okay? Rev share is something new that has come down the pipe. And I'm going to read from an article, okay, kind of explaining what revenue share is. So, to my understanding, and someone can correct me if I'm wrong, revenue share is, or what is happening in this era of NIL, right, is people have been saying that, get to the right screen, that NIL is out of control. Okay. So what we had for the past couple of years was we had what they call collectives start. So collective runs as a business. So you get a business license, you start a collective, you start collecting donations from boosters and companies and running events and fundraising and things like that. And that collective then takes that money and signs NIL contracts with players. Okay? So a lot of people have been confused, and understandably so, on where to give money if they want to donate, right? Because there's been the foundation that gives scholarship money that you can give directly to a sports program, or you can now give to this collective, right? Or you can actually give money to like a company like Learfield, right? You're paying for advertising in the stadiums or online and things like that. And people are asking now, well, where do I give? What helps the most, right? So but what the collectives do or did was they would sign these kids to NIL deals. And for the most part, and I'm not exactly sure, I don't believe this was the case at Fresno State. Could have been, I don't know. But for the most part, these collectives were just signing, and these deals were called pay to play. So typically, if I'm a business, I'm signing this kid to an NIL deal to represent my company, right? They're going to be in a commercial for me. They're going to stand outside for the day and sign stuff, right? And I'm going to pay them for that. Well, rather than just giving my money to the collective and the collective just writes them the check, says, oh, boom, we just signed them to an NIL deal. And now you can play without the responsibility of doing this for the company. Fresno State was pretty good, and I knew the people. We have an NIL director, and I knew the people at Learfield. They were pretty good at getting the kids involved, and that there needed to be something in return. But the bigger schools, they could just write a $250,000 check to the kid, no problem, and not expect anything in return, right? Because their boosters actually want that. Right? Fresno State does not have that money at all. So what RevShare does is it is supposed to get rid of that. Okay, so RevShare says that the schools now have $20.5 million. They have a cap at $20.5 million and they have this, all that money now has to be split, right? It's not $20.5 million. That's no school is getting $20.5 million, but that's the cap, right? So if a booster gives money or they make a bunch of money from ticket sales and things like that, and they could cap that at $20.5 million, and that $20.5 million has to be shared between all the sports. And now that the school, it's up to the school on how they spend that money, right? But every sports program has to get some money, right? That's revenue sharing. Okay. So in this article is written by Nicole Auerbach. I follow her on X. She works for NBC Sports. She talked to some people. So how revenue sharing and the new NIL clearinghouse will work. Here is what, and this went into effect July 1st, by the way. See, I'm trying to get to the main points. Okay, so if the school opts in, they will be able to pay their athletes up to $20.5 million per year. And like I said, that's football to women's gymnastics to the golf team. Everybody's got to share. It's the amount that's up to the school, but they have to delegate some revenue to all athletic programs. They will also be subject to rules, regulation, and enforcement from the CSC, the entity tasked with determining that each school is in compliance with the cap, and that NIL deals athletes sign are for deals with a valid business purpose and tied to compensation in line with similar deals from other athletes and or endorsers. An NIL clearinghouse run by Deloitte and called NIL Go must approve all deals worth more than $600. Okay, Fresno State, I was told, did opt into this. I have not heard any different. If so, please let me know. But Fresno State did opt in. Now, Fresno State will not meet the $20.5 million cap per year. I don't think so. We will not. Okay. Now, this does not, that $20.5 million does not go towards third-party NIL deals like they're saying. So if you and me wanted to give money to a player, that is not going to the rev share, right? If we want a deal with the quarterback, we make that deal as a third-party deal outside of this, okay? So that does not go towards the 20.5 cap. It does not go towards rev share. Okay. Now here, Learfield executive vice president, whose company partners with and represents the multimedia rights for more than 100 schools. This is who Fresno State partners with that as well. Right now, our contract is with them. Said he believes the next arms race in college sports will be around what he calls real NIL. Real NIL, this is his quote, Real NIL is the exchange of goods and services between a student athlete and a brand partner. I think that was what it was intended to be all along. Yes. So what he's saying is we're getting back to what NIL was supposed to be rather than having these so-called businesses make these NIL deals and business deals with players, but in return, there's nothing in return for the businesses. Right? They're just handing a check to the starting quarterback because that NIL collective has a bunch of money. They got a bunch of boosters to do that. Okay. So then they go on to give the example, like a high profile example of Caitlin Clark's deal with State Farm, and then lower profile stuff of like a gymnast with a local dairy that makes chocolate milk, or the blood donation drive at the local hospital. So then he goes on to talk about Power 4 schools are interested in finding third-party NIL deals to compensate their athletes above the $20.5 million. Okay, so basically what I'm hearing is it's bringing the ceiling down, right? Because now these collectives can't sign kids to massive deals. They're going to have to go and search for businesses and business owners that are willing to write a big check, and then that kid in return is going to have to fulfill the deal, right? They can't just sign these checks, pay-to-play checks anymore. Group of 5 schools are interested in finding third-party NIL deals to supplement whatever revenue sharing they can afford, in some cases well below that maximum of $20.5 million. Right? That's Fresno State. Okay, we have local businesses that are going to want to sign these deals, but we're not going to be able to sign 6-figure deals to kids, right? It's going to be way less than that. So are kids going to be willing to do this, right? I think this is going to be the interesting part for me to watch. Is lots of businesses now are going to have to put their neck out for these kids 1 year, right? But with how the transfer portal is set up, are they willing to do that? Especially at a group of 5 school like Fresno State. For example, and I say that for this reason, Mikey Keene. Mikey Keene is here. He's a starting quarterback. Let's say multiple businesses drop some money on him. So total, we drop 100 grand on him. Then the next year he transfers. Is that business who just spent $5,000, was it worth it to them? And are they going to do that again for a starting quarterback who just transferred in? We have EJ Warner, Kurt Warner's kid. He's going to be here for 1 year. He's never been here before. So is that company going to drop $5,000 again for this guy who just got here? Maybe, because we want to win. If that company really supports Fresno State and they think that these kids are going to help them win, and this is what goes through the local business owner's mind, or are we going to go get those third-party NIL deals with kids that have been here for 3 to 4 years? Are we going to get those deals with kids that are from here? Like a Mandel that's at quarterback, who went to Buchanan, whose family is living here, and he's been here for a couple of years. What are the businesses going to do? 1, and then 2, are the kids ready to accept less money? Or maybe not less money, but there's definitely going to be more work for them because they're going, especially if it's under $600. Over $600, because they're going to have to show the NCAA that they are fulfilling their promise to that business, to that entity. So I think these people are going to have to. Let me back up a little bit. The reason I say all that is because I think a lot of kids are being lied to about how much money they can make through NIL, especially at smaller schools, right? They think NIL deals, they're thinking in the thousands, where look at that number, $600. That's the threshold where now you have to, that's where they're going to step in and monitor it, right? And the reason being is because over $600 is a large NIL contribution. That's a large deal. Most of them, especially in Fresno, are going to be around the $100 to $200 range. So the kids' expectations are going to have to come down all over, and not just G5 programs, all over. Okay, here, let me continue. The $20.5 million for the 2025-2026 academic year is no arbitrary figure. It is 22% of the average revenue of a P4 athletic department. Including ticket sales and media rights distributions, it will be recalculated every 3 years with the same formula. And in the years in between calculations, it will increase by 4% from the previous year to address inflation. Schools must decide what they will pay their athletes and how they will divvy it up. And this is what I said. Okay. Many schools have said publicly that they plan to spend about 75% of that amount on football players. So whatever amount that is, most schools are going 75% of their total revenue to football, with most of the remaining amount spent on men's and women's basketball. Some schools, such as Oklahoma, they go in like, okay, they have a dominant softball program. They're going to spend more on softball than other schools. So, let's continue. NIL collectives have operated largely unchecked for the past few years. This is what I was saying, with very few penalties for deals with athletes that amounted to recruiting, inducements, and or pay for play. So football players could sign with the highest bidder in an uncapped system, and they could enter the transfer portal with immediate eligibility to play elsewhere, which allowed them to create a bidding war again and again and again. Right? We've seen that multiple times. Okay. I think that's enough there. I think you guys get the point. In my opinion, it brings the ceiling down for those P4 schools. They have to spend money elsewhere now, which is nice, but it brings the floor down for the smaller schools. Okay, so to me, it's not bringing the ceiling down closer to the floor for schools like us, Fresno State. That difference is still the same, just the ceiling is lower now. Okay, that's it. And even then, you could argue that the ceiling hasn't dropped because they're just going to sign third-party NIL deals with boosters' businesses, right? However they could figure it out. There's always a way around it. But now those deals are going to be monitored, which is good in my opinion. But here's the thing that I think needs to happen. Okay, above all, I think the transfer portal needs to be fixed. In my opinion, I don't think NIL was a problem. I believe it is, and still is currently, is the transfer portal. Because you can just bounce around and you could start those bidding wars. Right? And now, currently there's a lawsuit going on. I haven't heard about it recently, but Wisconsin is suing Miami because what has happened and what is happening is these kids are being talked to before entering the transfer portal, saying, hey, kid from Wisconsin, we have so much money waiting for you if you enter the transfer portal. So enter the transfer portal. We'll show you the money. You sign with us. Boom. We have a scholarship for you. There you go. And NIL deal is ready. Boom. That is against NCAA rules. You cannot talk to players before entering the transfer portal. Well, coaches have been saying this from the jump that their players are being offered money while they're on the roster at their school. My beef with the coaches is this. Yes, you say that, but then you don't drop any names. You're not dropping the schools, right? So I'm happy Wisconsin did this. Hopefully it goes in Wisconsin's favor, so it sets a precedent. Hey, other bigger school, don't touch our players. Otherwise, we will sue you. I think that's the biggest problem right now, along with the transfer portal. And you have to incentivize kids playing where they committed, right? So we call them commitments. I don't like calling them commitments anymore because you're not committed. You're committed to the biggest wallet. That's what you're committed to. That's what they should call it. I am committing to the biggest wallet. And it's part of the rules. A kid can do that. I don't want to say that I don't like it that, yes, I don't like it that that kids can just jump around everywhere, but I would have done the same thing if they were offering me bigger dollars elsewhere. So I think the only way this changes is you incentivize kids staying at a certain school. And one of my friends said this about fantasy leagues, and I think this is important. I thought it was actually pretty wise. He said, we need to stop punishing players for not setting their lineups. And we need to incentivize players to set their lineup. And I think that goes for a lot of things in life. I think that's pretty wise. Incentivize rather than punish. Right? Incentivize having more kids rather than punish people for having more kids. Incentivize doing good rather than committing a crime. Right? I think it's pretty smart. We should try it. By the way, I don't know if you saw, but it used to be, the running number for a long time was 2.1 kids per woman. It's now gone up to 2.7 kids per woman worldwide. We got to have more kids. I know a lot of people, I've actually had this conversation multiple times already. It's not a good time to have kids. The world's a terrible place. I can tell you as a dad, the best thing ever in my life was having kids. It's amazing. And how you want to affect the world in a positive way, have kids, raise them the right way. Raise them to respect the people around them, raise them to be a good neighbor, raise them to love Jesus. That you want to change the world and make the world a better place, that's the way to do it. Have kids, stick around to raise them the right way. Okay. That's my tangent for the day. All right, let's get into quick local news. We're almost at the hour mark. Thanks for sticking around. I'll be done shortly. But please comment below all your thoughts. Local news. Ethan Quinn from San Joaquin Memorial. By the way, San Joaquin Memorial's been killing it lately. San Joaquin Memorial, Ethan Quinn competed in Wimbledon, won his first round matchup, lost in the second round. But I think it's awesome that a local kid who played tennis at San Joaquin Memorial won a game in Wimbledon. That's awesome. Now, he did go to college and play tennis at Georgia, but I don't think Fresno State is going to be keeping, the best tennis players around here. Hey, congrats to Ethan, man. Very cool to see. Another cool thing to see, the Gold Cup was going on recently. The Gold Cup, it finished. The United States lost in the final to Mexico. Granted, it wasn't our starting team. However, it was very frustrating to watch. Just quick rundown on the Gold Cup. There's no reason we should have lost that game. We scored early. I think we could talk about coaching. We could talk about style of play and our toughness. And I want to stay on toughness. The culture when it comes to playing soccer in America, the American soccer culture is not a winning culture. It's slowly changing. It's slowly getting there, but it's not a winning culture. We play lackadaisical. We play soft. You could talk all you want about the Mexico national team flopping and time wasting. It's part of the game. Why don't we do it? If that's what the winning teams are going to do, why don't we do it? However, we're not tough on the back line. Defensively, we got to get tougher. Right? I love one of our bad guys, Richards, scored a goal. Big, should dominate every game. I need him to be tougher. I need all of them to be tougher. All right. Anyways, that's my short story long. But here's what I will say. There was a player, Max Arfston, played on the Gold Cup team, went to San Joaquin Memorial, scored a goal in the Gold Cup. And then, of course, Lynn Williams, I believe she played at Bullard, but she's on the women's national team. She scored a goal. Same weekend. So we have a player Cedric Coward get drafted first round of the NBA. Ethan Quinn wins a match at Wimbledon. Max Arfston and Lynn Williams score international goals for our national soccer teams in the same weekend. That's awesome. That's awesome. And nobody knows about this stuff. Why aren't we talking about this stuff? Very cool. Also, shout out to my guy Cole Morgan. He just got the basketball job at Madera South. Watch out, Madera South is on. They're gonna be in selling soon enough. Just telling you. Watch out for Madera South. Okay, two things really quick. So the local $3 theater in Clovis closed. I am bummed out about that. But I don't know how you could make money selling tickets for $3. And also, people don't go to the theaters anymore. So question for you. Do you still go to the theater? I know a couple people that they have tickets to go. It's like a membership, and they go all the time to these theaters. My wife and I went to a 4D showing the other day. I think in River Park. I had not been to River Park in so long. But the 4D, I didn't know what I was getting myself into. I didn't know what it was. I honestly, I didn't know what it was. And then we had just eaten a heavy dinner, and then I sat on a roller coaster in a 4D theater. It was not a good time. I mean, it was a good time, but my stomach was not happy. It was fun though. Second thing is this. Bass Lake, they're complaining about trash on Bass Lake. Please pick up your trash. It's summertime. I know I see Skaggs Bridge is packed. Shaver, Bass Lake is packed. They're all packed. And the one thing that's common about all these things is they are so dirty. They are littered with trash. Please stop littering. If you go and you see trash or you see people littering, please ask them to pick it up. I mean, it blows my mind how dirty we are here in the United States of America. I hear how dirty London is and how dirty all these European cities are. Well, over the summer, my mother-in-law took me. It was a blessing. Wonderful trip. Clean. London, clean. Super clean. The Tube there in London, didn't see anything. I didn't see a single protein bar wrapper. Nothing. I didn't see a straw. Nothing. I went to Croatia on this trip as well. Clean. I asked my cousin why. I have cousins in Croatia. Why is it this way? Why is it clean? Why? Now there is graffiti in places, okay, and they don't clean up the graffiti. They just leave it there. Anyways, that's another story. But I asked, why is it clean and why is it so safe? And you know what he told me? It's because we tell people it's because we make a living off of tourism. And so if it's dirty, people aren't going to come here. And if it's not safe, people are not going to come here and people are not going to make money. Oh, okay. Easy enough. Granted. It makes sense. And then the second thing is, he said is this. And he was kind of, I don't know if he was joking or not. I shouldn't say maybe he was joking. I don't know if he was joking or not. And granted, the Croatian kids are massive. And and my cousins are huge, would definitely beat me up. He says, if we see people pickpocketing or stealing things, we beat them up. That's simple. You don't do that here. And we raise our kids to not be most of the time. Most people go to church and raise their kids to not do that stuff. Right? Morals. Good morals. Very interesting, right? And now here in Fresno, when I say our community is, I think we have a great community. We have a lot of good people here. Oh, hey, bud. My 2-year-old's up. So I better get out of here. We got to pick up our trash. We got to keep people accountable. Last thing, I tried the anaconda burrito. Some friends brought it by. The anaconda burrito is yummy. It's very good. I got stuff. Oh, it's cold, huh, bud? Oh, I'll be in a sec. I'll come see you in a sec. I'll talk to you guys soon. I gotta get to work and get my 2-year-old taken care of. Thank you guys. Appreciate it. Here's to new beginnings with Nailed It. Comment down below all your thoughts and what you think about this stuff. And reminder, call your friends. See you guys. God bless.